I pretended to be submissive to my wife for 7 years, but it was all an act. Now, the moment had finally arrived. The day Carla's ex-lover, Manuel Torres, returned. She organized an impressive fireworks display by the river to welcome him. The weather was perfect, and they even hugged and kissed in front of everyone. I stood there silently, just watching. Carla had also planned a welcome party for him. On the way to the party, she looked at me nervously and explained, "It's just that I hadn't seen Manuel in so long." I got really emotional and kissed him. Angry? No. I immediately forced a smile and replied humbly, "Of course not. As long as you're happy, I accept anything." She gave me a slightly irritated look and turned away. I didn't know why she was worried. After all, I was nothing more than a worthless doormat, and it was clear I wouldn't dare to get upset. Manuel glanced at me through the rearview mirror, mocking me. "Carla, this guy is useless. They humiliate him like this, and he can't even say a word. He's not good enough for you. You should divorce him and marry me." I gripped the steering wheel tightly, stealing a glance at Carla. Her eyes sparkled, and I could swear she was a bit excited, but she stayed silent for a long time, not responding. At the party, Carla's friends cheered enthusiastically, welcoming Manuel. But when they turned to me, their smiles quickly turned into sneers. Someone nearby started talking, provoking me. Everyone knows Carla was in love with Manuel for a full 10 years. If he hadn't left for abroad so suddenly, she wouldn't have been so fragile and heartbroken as to fall for a loser who took advantage of the situation. Now that her true love is back, it's time for some people to step aside, don't you think? Thanks to Carla, no one at the party respected me, but I pretended not to notice. Silently, I watched Carla in the middle of the dance floor. Manuel took a sip of wine, pulled Carla close, and kissed her passionately. She timidly tried to return the kiss, but realized her glass was empty. She turned to me and complained, "Javier, fill my glass. Don't you see it's empty?" I rushed to pour more wine, but she shoved me aside with disdain and went back to kissing Manuel. Suddenly, Manuel grabbed my arm, stopping me from leaving. He looked me up and down with disdain. "I'm really curious. How did you manage to fool a noble woman like Carla into marrying you? Everyone says you're a loser with no dignity. Show me how you lick her boots." He tilted the glass, letting a few drops fall on his leather shoes. Then, with a cruel kick to my knee, he forced me to kneel and crawl like a dog. Carla just stood there, coldly watching. I gritted my teeth and knelt, wiping Manuel's shoes with my sleeve. As mocking laughter filled the air, I caught a glimpse of Carla's gaze. It was full of contempt. She walked toward me and delivered a strong kick. "You're a pathetic loser. Get away from me." She paused and added, "I'm staying with Manuel tonight." I understood immediately and silently booked a hotel room for them. I remained motionless. Carla's dress was half undone, and when she looked up and saw me, she appeared visibly irritated. "Why are you still here? Don't you realize how disgusting you are?" I stayed silent for a long time. When she was about to lose her patience, I hesitated and murmured, "I did well today, didn't I? Can I ask you something? Please don't divorce me." Her expression changed, turning into a mocking smile. "You, without a shred of dignity, a worthless man, how dare you want to stay by my side? Why shouldn't I divorce you? Javier, listen carefully. I'm going to divorce you." The hallway was dimly lit. Carla could see the tears running down my face, but she didn't notice my restrained smile. Without saying a word, she picked up a sandal from the floor and, with no respect at all, threw it at my face. Then, the door slammed shut. Alone in the emptiness, I finally allowed myself to smile. Free and unrestricted, I thought. Divorce? I have no problem with that. Everyone was convinced that I was completely in love with Carla. They believed I was a hopeless doormat. Carla took advantage of that supposed devotion, openly humiliating me and taking out her frustrations on me whenever something didn't go her way. But what she never imagined was that my relationship with her during those 7 years wasn't about love. It was an agreement. That night, sitting in the car with Carla's mother, Leticia Martinez, she sighed deeply and said, "Javier, I know these 7 years haven't been easy for you. Now that the contract has ended, Find a way to end this relationship and regain your freedom. Just make sure Carla never discovers the truth. Back then, Carla was devastated after being abandoned by Manuel and had fallen into a critical state, even contemplating taking her own life. Desperate, Letitia decided to hire someone who could help Carla overcome her pain, stabilize her life, and eventually resume her career and studies. That's where I came in, newly graduated from a prestigious university, but drowning in debt and directionless. The offer was tempting, a 7-year contract with an annual salary of $5 million. I accepted without much thought. My task was to play the role of a devoted husband. And now that the time had come to an end, I could finally stop acting. After so much time being the submissive man everyone saw, I was about to regain my life. When I got home that night, I found a package at the door. It was from a Laureate, a remote region. Inside were finely carved wooden sculptures, carefully wrapped in protective foam. I couldn't help but smile when I saw them. It was a genuine smile, a rarity after years of pretending. That night, I slept deeply, something I hadn't done in a long time. The next morning, I received a message from Carla, something that hadn't happened in years. The message was cold and direct. Bring your ID. Let's meet at the civil registry. I sighed in relief and couldn't help but laugh. During the entire drive to the registry, I laughed to myself. But when I saw her, I quickly changed my expression to one full of tears and began begging her not to divorce me. As usual, Carla rolled her eyes and demanded that I publicly apologize. Without thinking, I did so immediately. But to my surprise, that only made her angrier. With a resounding slap, she looked me straight in the eye and whispered through gritted teeth, "Are you really this pathetic, Javier? Don't you have even a shred of dignity?" The more I submitted to her whims, the more she seemed to despise me. However, when I ignored her, she was the one who came back begging. It was hard to determine who was truly the most pathetic in this relationship. To ensure the divorce went through without complications, I decided to humiliate myself more than I ever had before. Carla, with a cold glare, said, "If you want us to stay married, swear it. I want you to swear that you'll never come between Manuel and me, that you'll let us do whatever we want. You're nothing more than my pet." Without hesitation, I swore immediately, my eyes filled with supposed sincerity, even trembling as I did so. As more people gathered to watch the spectacle, Carla's frown deepened. It was clear that my level of submission deeply disgusted her. Inside, I couldn't help but smile at the thought that the divorce was closer than ever. Finally, she said disdainfully, "Fine, we won't divorce. Let's go." What she thought was an act of kindness sounded in my ears like a devastating thunderclap. I stood there, staring at her in astonishment, trying to comprehend how it had all come to this. I came home that night, unable to stop thinking about what had just happened. Carla had refused to sign the divorce papers, even after everything I had done to stage the most absolute humiliation. My submission, which should have disgusted her enough to set me free, had somehow had the opposite effect. I climbed the stairs slowly, the weight of the situation pressing down on my shoulders, but inside, a fire burned. Something inside me told me it was time to end everything once and for all. That night, I sat in the office I rarely used. I pulled an envelope from the back of a drawer that Letitia had given me at the beginning of it all. Inside were the original documents of the contract that had tied me to Carla for 7 long years. The paper still carried the scent of the perfume Letitia used back then, a smell that reminded me of how it all started. 7 years, I whispered to myself. 7 years of being the personal clown of a woman who never knew the truth, who treated me as nothing more than a disposable piece of furniture. The contract clearly stipulated that at the end of the agreed period, I would be free to live my life, and Letitia was to ensure that Carla wouldn't interfere. But what no one knew, not even Letitia, was that I had gathered enough evidence to turn the tables if something went wrong. Text messages, recorded conversations, and even financial records that could destroy Carla and her mother in the blink of an eye. I was the submissive man, yes, but I was also the patient man. And patience was something Carla never had. The next morning, Carla seemed colder than ever. When I walked into the kitchen, she was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee, her eyes fixed on her phone. She didn't even bother to look at me when I mumbled a good morning. I decided to break the silence. "Carla, we need to talk." She finally lifted her eyes, but her expression was pure boredom. "What now? Are you going to cry again?" "I already told you we're not getting divorced, so spare me your pathetic speech." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. On the outside, I was still the same Javier she was used to manipulating, but inside, something had changed. "It's not about the divorce. It's about us. About what we're doing with our lives." She rolled her eyes and laughed derisively. "Our lives? Javier, you don't have a life. You're a parasite living off me. What could you possibly have to say about that?" I swallowed the provocation. That was exactly what she wanted. Instead of responding, I simply gave her a faint smile and left the house. Carla thought I was going to work, but the truth was I had other plans. I called Leticia. She answered on the second ring. "Javier, what happened?" she asked, worried. "What happened?" I retorted sarcastically. "Your daughter refused to give me the divorce, Leticia. You were supposed to make sure that didn't happen. Now we have a problem." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line before she sighed. "I'll talk to her. Don't worry." But I knew Leticia had no control over Carla. She never did. That was precisely why she had hired me. I decided to speed things up on my own. I went straight to a lawyer, bringing the contract and all the compromising documents I had accumulated. The plan was simple. If Carla didn't leave me alone, I would destroy her. And not just her. Leticia would pay the price too. When I returned home, Carla was on the couch, drinking wine with Manuel. They were laughing loudly, as if they owned the world. As soon as I walked in, Manuel made sure to mock me. "Look who's here. Our little watchdog. Aren't you ashamed of being so pathetic, Javier?" Carla burst out laughing and took a long sip of wine. "Leave him alone, Manuel. Javier knows his place. He's only here because I allow it." That was the last straw. I kept my composure, but inside, I knew that would be the last day I endured those humiliations. I went upstairs, grabbed a suitcase, and started packing my things. Carla appeared at the door a few minutes later, a curious expression on her face. "What are you doing?" she asked, crossing her arms. "I'm leaving," I replied calmly. She laughed, incredulous. "Leaving? Don't be ridiculous. You'd never have the courage." I closed the suitcase and turned to face her. For the first time in 7 years, I looked her in the eyes without flinching. "You're right, Carla. I would never have had the courage. Until now. But know this. Your life will never be the same." She tried to say something, but before she could, I simply walked past her and out of the house. It was time to put my plan into action. This was just the beginning. As I walked out the door, I felt a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. Carla stood watching me as I walked away, incredulous, her arms crossed, with an expression of superiority etched on her face. "Are you really leaving like this?" she shouted from the door. "Javier, be reasonable. You have nowhere to go. You'll come crawling back like always." I didn't respond. I just kept walking toward the car, carrying my suitcase. I got in, started the engine, and drove away. Inside, I could barely contain my smile. Carla thought I was the broken man she had humiliated for years. But little did she know I had been patiently waiting for this moment. Everything was finally falling into place. In the weeks that followed, Carla tried to provoke me. She sent occasional messages, usually filled with irony and disdain. "Still alive? Don't you think it's time to come back home and apologize? Miguel and I are doing great without you, you know?" I ignored them all. She had no idea that my life had already changed completely. I moved into a new house, far larger than the one Carla believed was hers. It didn't take long for me to settle in. With the millions Leticia had paid me over the past 7 years, I had invested wisely in real estate funds, stocks, and even a small business that was now thriving. While Carla thought I was just a doormat without ambitions, the truth was I had amassed a fortune that would leave her speechless. A month later, I decided it was time to set my plan into motion. Carla and Miguel had organized a dinner party with friends at the house where I had lived for 7 years. I made sure to show up, uninvited of course. When I opened the door and walked in, Carla looked stunned. She had been laughing at something Miguel said, but her smile vanished the moment she saw me. "What are you doing here?" She asked, clearly uncomfortable. I decided to stop by and have a chat with you. My voice was calm, but it carried a tone that immediately caught everyone's attention. Miguel looked at me with disdain, as usual. Listen, idiot, no one wants you here. Carla and I are doing just fine without you. I chuckled, shaking my head. Oh, I know you're doing fine, or at least you think you are. I pulled an envelope from my pocket and placed it on the table. But maybe you should take a look at this before continuing. Carla grabbed the envelope irritably, but as she read its contents, her expression turned to pure panic. Miguel leaned over her shoulder to read, and soon, his smug look disappeared as well. What is this? He asked, confused. It's simple, I explained, crossing my arms. The house you're sitting in? It's not hers. It never was. It belongs to my company. And, oh, Carla, remember the 7 years you treated me like garbage? Well, your mother was very generous in paying me millions to take care of you. I invested every penny, and guess what? I'm now a millionaire. You, on the other hand, have absolutely nothing. The room fell into a deafening silence. Carla stood up, her face a mix of anger and disbelief. This can't be true. My mother would never do this to me, she yelled. I laughed again. Your mother did what she had to do to stop you from ruining your own life. And now, she can't do anything about it because if she tries, I have enough evidence to destroy both her and you. Miguel stood up, visibly uncomfortable. Wait a second. You mean all of this? He gestured around the house. It's not hers? None of it? And I wouldn't be entitled to anything? Carla tried to argue. Miguel, don't be ridiculous. This doesn't change anything. We still have each other. He let out a bitter laugh, grabbing his jacket. I don't want to be with someone who has absolutely nothing and relies on lies to get by. Good luck with your life, Carla. I'm out. She tried to stop him, but Miguel walked out without looking back. The sound of the door slamming echoed through the room, leaving Carla standing there, alone and at a loss. You can't do this to me, she screamed at me, but her voice now sounded desperate. I already did. I smiled. And by the way, I'm buying this house from your mother. So, if you want to keep living here, you'll have to follow a new rule. Every morning, you'll need to kiss my feet. Carla turned pale, unable to respond. I left the house without looking back, leaving her to process what had just happened. In the following days, Carla sought help from Letitia. She went to her mother's house, shouting and demanding explanations. Letitia, however, was tired of her daughter and her dramas. I did what I could for you, Carla. If you lost everything, it's your fault. Don't count on me to fix your mistakes. With no mother, no Miguel, and no money, Carla finally understood what it meant to be humiliated. Today, she lives as a guest in the house I bought, following every condition I imposed. Every morning, she kneels, kisses my feet, and cleans every corner of the house. What was once the symbol of her arrogance is now the stage for her downfall. Each day, Carla experiences what it's like to be despised, while I savor every second of my freedom. Justice, after all, has been served,